What if I told you that Kamala Harris's immigration plan could shape the future of America in ways that few are talking about? Immigration is a hot-button issue, but there's so much more to it than what you see in the headlines. Today, we're examining Harris's policies, the impact they have on everyday Americans, and what it could mean for the future of this country. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this. Hi everyone, I am Jamal Bryan. Welcome back to Trendwave News TV. Today's report is all about Vice President Kamala Harris and her controversial stance on immigration. As we approach the 2024 presidential election, immigration continues to be one of the top concerns for Americans. Whether you're for or against stricter border control, we're breaking down the key points of Harris's immigration policies, how they compare to the hardline stance of Donald Trump, and what the average American thinks about all this. You'll be surprised by what we uncover. If you're interested in how these policies affect the U.S. economy, jobs, and even crime, stay tuned because we're going deep on this one. Let us begin by giving a brief overview of Harris's immigration stance. So, what's Kamala Harris's stance on immigration? Harris has made it clear. She supports border security, but she's also about reform. This means she's focused on cracking down on transnational criminal organizations while creating pathways to citizenship for millions of undocumented immigrants living in the U.S. Does this make her soft on immigration? Not quite! Harris has actually prosecuted criminal organizations tied to human trafficking and drug smuggling during her time as California's Attorney General. Now, let's put some numbers to this. There are over 11 million undocumented immigrants currently in the U.S., and Harris supports a pathway to legal status for many of them. But how does this impact you? According to studies, if these individuals were granted legal status, it could add an additional $1.5 trillion to the U.S. GDP over the next decade. This could result in $109 billion in new federal, state, and local tax revenues. For everyday Americans, that could mean more funding for education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Let us now look at Trump versus Harris, the immigration battle. Now let's compare Harris's immigration stance to Donald Trump's. Trump's approach? It's all about tough enforcement. We're talking about mass deportations of millions of undocumented immigrants and his infamous plan to finish the border wall. But here's where it gets interesting. Harris points out that Trump's tough talk didn't result in long-term solutions. In fact, illegal crossings were at an all-time high under his administration. She argues that his policies are more about creating fear than fixing the issue. Trump's hardline stance costs the U.S. billions, with experts estimating that the deportation of 11 million immigrants would cost up to $285 billion. Not to mention, it could reduce the U.S. workforce by nearly 6%, causing a significant labor shortage, particularly in industries like agriculture, construction, and healthcare. Imagine a 20% price hike on your everyday groceries because there are no workers to harvest crops. Let us ask, what does the average American think? You might be wondering, how does the average American feel about all of this? Well, polls show that Americans are deeply divided. According to the latest data, 57% of Democrats support Harris's plan for comprehensive immigration reform, while 64% of Republicans favor stricter enforcement and deportation. But here's where things get interesting. Independents, who often decide elections, are split right down the middle. Many agree with the need for border security, but also feel empathy for immigrants seeking a better life. It has also been purported that there is a fear among many Americans that they are being replaced by people of other races and ethnicities. But that story is for another time. Think about this. In states like Texas and California, which have high immigrant populations, public opinion leans heavily toward reform. Why? Because these states rely on immigrant labor for economic growth. It's not just about politics, it's about practicality. With all of this in mind, what then is the future of immigration? What's at stake? So what happens if Kamala Harris becomes president and her immigration plan is put into action? We're looking at a future where the U.S. could see more integration of immigrants into society, which could mean lower crime rates and higher economic productivity. But this also means Republicans will fiercely oppose her policies, likely leading to a standstill in Congress on how immigration laws are enforced. Imagine a scenario where millions of dreamers, young people who were brought to the U.S. as children, finally gain legal status. This could lead to a surge of new entrepreneurs, more tax revenues, and even innovation in tech and healthcare sectors. On the flip side, some fear that a more open border could lead to overcrowded cities and strain public resources. As we conclude this report, what should we expect? At the end of the day, immigration is one of the most complex issues facing the U.S., and Kamala Harris's policies will undoubtedly be at the center of the elections in 2024. Whether you support her vision or not, it's clear that her approach is fundamentally different from Donald Trump's. But the real question is, which path will America choose? So what do you think? Should we take a more compassionate approach to immigration, or does border security need to come first? Or should we strive to strike a balance between both? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more breakdowns of the biggest issues shaping our future. Also, click the links in the description to enjoy some great resources. If you found this report helpful, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future updates as the election draws near. We're covering all the hot-button topics, from healthcare to the economy to how policies affect you directly. See you next time!